Welcome to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati, alongside Ethan Youker and world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati. We have an exciting show lined up for you. Let's get right to it. With DOGE already exposing shocking amounts of government waste, fraud, corruption, and abuse of taxpayer money, Democrats are having a full-on mental meltdown over what's being revealed. Joining us to discuss is retired Colonel John Mills, author of War Against the Deep State. Thank you for joining us, Colonel.
Thank you, Kimberly. An honor to be on the show again with you and your colleagues.
Now, EPA Secretary Lee Zeldin recently said that the Biden regime were throwing gold bars off the Titanic on their way out the door. Can you explain what that means?
Well, we always thought and knew the level of fraud, waste, and abuse was bad, but we're now seeing the receipts on it's far worse than we thought. Now, Secretary Zeldin of EPA has identified that the Biden team was just shoveling money out the door willy-nilly. Now, one of them, I believe, was Stacey Abrams of Georgia, had received, I think it was in 2023, her C3 nonprofit, and we love C3 nonprofits, but there has to be accountability and transparency. So she received $100 total for her C3 in 2023, but I believe the number was $2 billion. That's with a B. This is such utter grotesque fraud, waste, and abuse, which they've been using the term clawback, which I like. Normally, the budget law expression is everything has to be de-obligated and returned to the Treasury, because this is just grotesque and far worse than we thought it was.
Well, speaking of that term clawback, that's been the talk, and especially as of late, we've been hearing about these DOGE dividends, and I've heard people on both sides, all around, economists specifically, not even necessarily part of any party, are saying that that's probably not a good idea. And the DOGE dividends idea is that a lot of this money that's being clawed back, taxpayers will have a check cut and we will receive those checks. Again, obviously, as a taxpayer, I would love to get a check in the mail from the government for money that was already taken from me. But then they're also saying maybe it'll get rolled over into next year's taxes, meaning they would be less next year. Then there's others that are saying, let's just put that money towards bringing down the deficit. That's, I don't even know, 39 trillion, something like that. What are your thoughts on all of that? A, how are they going to get the money back? And then what should they do with it?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it is the American citizen. It's their money, okay? The idea that it goes to the government and then we get to have some of it back, that's automatically, a little bit distasteful. I know in Virginia, we have a Democrat legislature, Governor Youker, a Republican, and the Democrats, Youker wanted to give a tax cut, but so this is a microcosm of what's going on at the national level. But the Democrats in Virginia, no. We can't give the citizens a tax cut of their own money. No. It has to come in so that we can take a percentage and then give a rebate check. See, this is what they always want to do. It's like, well, how about we just not have the money go to the government in the first place? It's like the Department of Education. Every dollar that goes in, 70 cents goes out. I mean, for most mere mortals, that means you're losing money. It means a company is going out of business. But no, the government can take in $1 and give you 70 cents, and everybody's clapping their hands and going, oh, wow, thank you, government. No, that's actually the citizens' money. So we always thought it was bad. This is far worse.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Colonel Mills after this. You are watching American Medicine Today. Don't be screwed by lesser spine institutes who bait you with minimally invasive procedures, then switch to screws, rods, disc replacements, and hardware. At Bonati, no metal hardware fusions are ever used. Bonati invented the precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati Spine Procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail. Welcome back to American Medicine Today. We're joining the discussion with Colonel Mills. What do we do with the people involved in this disgusting muck of corruption? Do we have AG Pam Bondi? Does she throw their butts in prison? Do we claw back that money and throw them in prison?
Oh, well, we need the secretaries of the departments to make sure their chief financial officers. This is the fraud at FEMA. I thought I knew a lot of the tricks of the trade, but it's far more grotesque than we thought. Now, the CFO of FEMA, after being told not to do it, stop sending money out. What did she do? She did an outlay of $59 million to hotels in New York. Now, I think it really went to the city of New York, which is a gargantuan bureaucracy in itself. But that money has been clawed back. And now the city's trying to sue the federal government. But this whole housing of illegals was a total fraud. I mean, this just grotesque fraud. But I mean, the simple thing is you can't, in a situation like this, you can't take care of everything at once or everybody at once. You're going to have to identify the worst of the worst, start with them, start making examples, and then you go down the food chain. But start with the worst of the worst first. And it might be those that are most easily identifiable, like Stacey Abrams of Georgia. Where's that $2 billion that her nonprofit received? And if she spent a single farthing, then she needs to write a personal check to the Treasury.
Oh, we'd love that.
Is that still a thing, farthings? Just kidding. Go ahead, Kimberly.
But, well, Stacey Abrams is, flapping her gums on TV, talking about how she's dead set against DOGE. Well, now we know why. She's neck deep in the corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it was Senator Warren of Massachusetts that said words to the effect, the American citizen does not have a right to know what money is being spent on. That is just grotesque. We've had people like Rand Paul, others for years that have sounded the alarm on this. I mean, Proxmire back in the 70s and 80s, okay? Mm-hmm. But it's just on a scale that is just unbelievable. And part of this, let's talk about Department of Defense, which is the area I'm most familiar with. President Trump, on one hand, and Secretary Heck said, we're going to have the best and biggest military in the world, but we're also going to have cuts. Well, that's not an oxymoron. You can actually have both. We're spending more than ever before in the history of the United States government, and the military is a mess. The bases are absolute. They're shabby. They're just grotesque. We're losing ships and aircraft. We're not gaining ships and aircraft. We're losing ships. We're firing off missiles, at a rate 3, 4, 10x the amount of the annual rate which we're buying them. This is ridiculous. So I'm sure we can gain immense efficiencies and grow the department at the same time.
Colonel, obviously you don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but as someone who's spent their entire career in the DOD, essentially, what are your thoughts on what could potentially be trimmed, some of the fat that could go while we maintain, our status as a military power around the world?
Well, if you look at the actual natural trend line since the 50s and 60s, we used to let's talk about research and development. That's to make sure we have the best stuff in the world. Our trend line has actually been downward as a percentage of spend since the 50s and 60s, and it's become very, research and development is supposed to be unconstrained, and it's supposed to give us, things may not always work. That's okay. We learn stuff from that. But our R&D has become bad, and they spend billions. And it's essentially a jobs program for Democrats when they're out of power. Grotesque wokeness in the C-suites of these organizations. So I think it's time for a plucking. That's actually a Department of Defense term. To pluck and cull the officer corps, which we've done essentially maybe 5 times in our history. They become woke, and it affects their research and development, and we're not getting the best. We're spending billions here. So time for a culling of the research and development centers.
Can you summarize your book, War Against the Deep State?
Thank you. It's really about the rise of the mass surveillance system, which I helped create, and then it really was perverted and spun out of control and weaponized against the American citizen. And it talks about the unlawful fourth, fifth, and sixth branches of government: the administrative state, the marriage of big tech and federal law enforcement and intelligence, and then the nonprofits. I love nonprofits. They got to be accountable.
They certainly do. Thank you so much for being on the program, retired Colonel John Mills. Take great care.
Thanks, Colonel.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. That's all the time we have for this segment on American Medicine Today. We'll have more after this. Mark is a retired grandfather from Louisiana that loves staying on the move.
I'm a country boy, have always been. I grew up around cows, farming, went to work in the chemical industry, and wound up being there for about 40 years. Had some physical issues that I had to retire. I stay on the go. I'm a pretty active person. I don't like to let the grass grow under my feet.
That was until pain started making it difficult to stand or walk even short distances.
The way my pain started, it was over time. Before I even retired, I had got to noticing I couldn't walk as far. I would get fatigued. And I thought, it's just old age, and just tried exercising and keeping up, but it just got worse and worse.
Realizing something was wrong, Mark went to see his family doctor for help.
And I had an MRI, and they told me I had spinal stenosis and that the vertebrae were rubbing each other. So what did I do? I went and bought a gravity table, thinking that if I lay upside down so many minutes, so many times a day, that everything would stretch out and it'd fill back in. But guess what? It didn't work. And I tried all kinds of pills. I would get shots, be good for about 3 months, and then everything would be right back where it started. And I went for therapy religiously. And then I tried also something called dry needling, which is a form of acupuncture. And none of it seemed to work. But it progressively had gotten worse and worse to the point where I was having trouble walking from one side of my house to the other without my back just killing me and having to sit down. So I was spending more time with my butt in the chair than anything else.
When conservative treatments failed to relieve his pain, Mark began contemplating what to do next. While speaking to his cardiologist, they warned him against traditional open back surgery.
Like I finally got to the point, it was either go to a wheelchair and become completely immobile, or else do something and at least try something where I could get around again. But my cardiologist, he just warned me, his saying was, back surgery begets back surgery.
Taking their advice to heart, Mark started researching his options, and that's when he heard about the Bonati Spine Procedures from a friend and former patient.
I found out about the Bonati Institute by word of mouth. She was 100% all for it, because she was probably basically in about my shape. She said that after they talked to her, they told her to be careful, because if she could break a bone, I'm in the same shape, and decided to choose this because the amount of downtime. This is a last hope for me.
Hearing what she had to say, he called the Bonati Spine Institute and spoke with a patient advocate. After sending his MRI in for a review, Dr. Bonati called him personally to tell Mark that he was a good candidate for the exclusive Bonati Spine Procedures.
He started telling me all my complications and problems. I didn't have to tell him. He already told me what was going on with me. That impressed me a lot.
Patients are often surprised by the efficiency of the Bonati Spine Institute. This due in large part to the state-of-the-art on-campus imaging center.
I've been here 8 days. The process of getting me ready for surgery was like an emergency. I mean, go here, go there, just draw blood, just do this, let's get x-rays. And I mean, it was, now you see the doctor. And I have to say, y'all are very proficient.
Mark was happy to hear that he would be awake for his targeted Bonati Spine procedures, as conscious IV sedation drastically reduces the risks commonly associated with general anesthesia. In addition, this process keeps the patient alert and communicating with their surgeon to ensure the source of their pain is eliminated before they leave the operating table.
The sedation part of it was one of the things that attracted me to it, and I could see everything that was going on. Recovery was great, 30 minutes. They take several readings on your vitals, and if they look good, you're up, and they have you walk the length of the recovery room. And after that, you're getting dressed, and they're helping you out to your truck or car. I mean, the recovery is just almost instant.
While recovering from a Bonati spine procedure, surgical guests are not required to wear an uncomfortable brace or suffer through weeks of physical therapy. Instead, they are told to simply walk about 40 minutes a day.
30 minutes after the procedure, I was up and walking. Walking is the most important to them to keep the scar tissue broke up.
Mark is looking forward to playing with his grandkids, working on his land, and getting back on the dance floor.
I'm looking forward to being able to get out and walk again. My girlfriend likes to dance, and I used to love to dance, country and western dance. And so I want to take her dancing one night and just really show her a lot of fun.
To see more stories of recovery just like this, search for the Bonati Spine Institute on YouTube, Rumble, Roku, Amazon's Fire TV, Google Play Store, and Apple's App Store. Welcome back to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati alongside Dr. Alfred Bonati. So, if you can explain the difference between general anesthesia and what you utilize is conscious IV sedation.
Initially, we start with general anesthesia. I always fear the general anesthesia because not only complications like respiratory consequences, sometimes cardiovascular, some other times if the patient remains too long in anesthesia, problems of stroke. So all these things always scare me, and always I was against somebody to put me to sleep. So if I don't want anybody to put me to sleep, why I will want to put to sleep a patient? One of my anesthesiologists, who is a really brilliant guy, he started to experiment with sedative medications. And then what we did is we initially numb with some type of xylocaine. Using that medication, we knew that the patient will not have pain on the skin. So if we introduce now the instrumentation deeper, the patient had pain. Initially, we thought that was associated just with muscle pain. But then we realized that was sensation from the fascia. So we numb the fascia. So once we numb the fascia, then we were able to understand that we can penetrate farther and get to the bone. But when we arrived to the bone, was also pain. Then we realized that the pain was because the periosteum is very sensitive. We numbed again the periosteum. So we put 3 little amount of injections, and maybe each one around maybe 4 or 5 cc's of xylocaine. 20 cc of xylocaine is very much tolerated for anybody. But we always have a question, can we touch the bone and see will be pain or not? Then we use some type of drill to touch the bone. To our surprise, the bone doesn't hurt. So we found immediately the possibility to do spine surgery without really doing anything with general anesthesia.
I've been on that operating table before with little to nothing other than those little spots of, what did you call it, lidocaine?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it is tolerable. And you're able to communicate back and forth. You're able to watch the table cameras and know that you're receiving pain relief, the real pain relief and resolution to the problem. Not that you just kind of wake up after surgery and hope things went well.
I understand something. When I get to the bone and I expose the nerve, if I touch the nerve, the patient feels that. So it's in my benefit that the patient feels that, because then I'm not going to damage the nerve. But the point is this: general anesthesia is a really bad anesthesia. And you create a situation with too much anesthetic or so, that can affect immediately the heart rate, and you can have something that is going to take you occupied for at least an hour to try to solve the problem, if you can solve the problem. Patients sometimes, when I do surgery, they go, "Oh, I want to go to sleep," but I try to make the patient understand the same thing that I'm talking to you, to try to make you understand that that is not a good idea.
I would think least invasive is always the better route. Thank you for watching American Medicine Today. We'll talk more about that in a future episode. And if you'd like to see other episodes of American Medicine Today, add us to your favorite channel lineup. If you have any comments or questions, contact us at the numbers below. Or you can tweet at Dr. Bonati using the hashtag American Medicine Today or hashtag AMT. We would like to hear from you.